Welcome back to A Lot Adventures. My name is Ed, and I've been living in Belarus, specifically Minsk, Belarus, for just over 1 month. So I've got a routine going. I know where my favorite cafes are. I joined a gym. I've been to a few restaurants, so I know I do have a routine, and I'm going to share with you the top 10 shocking things I've learned about Belarus. Let's get into it. Number 10, public hospitals versus private clinics. Big difference here in Belarus. So last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been actually in and out of the hospitals, the public hospitals, not for me, but for Katya, because she has a bad back. And so we've been going to the hospitals pretty much every day. And so I learned a little bit about these hospitals. So when you walk in, there's usually 4 levels, and each level has its specialty, in medicine. And when you get to the correct level, you choose a number, and there's usually around 100 people on one level, with benches and doors. And you got to wait your turn, your number. And people will arrive and they'll ask, hey, are you next? And sometimes people get angry, right? I call it organized chaos, right? And people will argue, especially the older people. They don't want anyone to cut in front of them. And so there's been a few arguments I've witnessed. One with Katya, right? She got diagnosed. She had to go to the neurosurgeon to get consultation. She didn't know that she needed to call and set up an appointment. She thought she can just get a number. And there was this bambushka, or older lady, right next to us, that just says, no, you have to call and make an appointment. And Katya's, I'm sorry. And she just straight out says, are you a child? So it's quite funny. So it's not. And then you got the nurses and the doctors. They leave the office, the offices, and they walk down the aisle, and it's really just like you see in the movies. The Soviet Union, very stoic, no emotion. Someone talks to them or asks them a question, they're very, very stern. Right? So everybody's kind of afraid of the doctors and the nurses. All right. Now on the flip side, we also went to some private clinics because she had to actually get a shot in her back to relieve the pain, and also she had to get a blood test for the blood work before the surgery, and she opted to go to the private clinic because they can have the results the next day. Versus the public hospitals, it's a week, right? And so she wants to have her surgery as soon as possible. So you walk into a private clinic, everything is brand new. Everyone is nice. There's not hundreds of people, jockeying for position to be seen by a doctor. You do get a number, and then actually in the hallway you can actually get water, right? And then also once you check in, they give you a ticket where you can actually get free coffee from the machine. And then you go in. I'm just telling you what Katya told me. You go in, and the doctor goes, "How are you? Very nice. Sit anywhere you want. Get comfortable." As opposed to the public hospital. The doctor goes, sit there, sit there. Really, that's how it's like. And so they did the blood test, and on the way out, they gave her a bag of juice, right? Completely different experience. So I can use public health care, right? Go to the public hospital. But I think from my experience the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to go with the private clinics. There you go. Number 9, buying eyeglasses. Really good experience for me. I don't know if it was shocking, but it was, very pleasing to my pocketbook. So I go into an optometrist. They're everywhere actually. So you can walk in. They have glasses, all brands, just like they do in the United States or the UK or Australia or anywhere in Europe. So you can do the eye exam. Now the eye exam is free as long as you buy the glasses and the lenses. So I got the eye exam. It was, same procedure as in the States. And then what you do is you go out once you have that eye exam. It's in the same store, right? Same retail store. So you come out, and then a lady will help you choose the frames. I ended up choosing a frame. I didn't know Harley Davidson actually did frames, but they do, and that's what I chose. This is actually what I have. I have Harley Davidson frames. Okay, so I got the frames. I got the eye exam. I had the lenses, with the prescription, and it took 2 days to get my eyeglasses. What was the total cost? Just guess. What do you think? $600, $700, $300? No, $97. Unbelievable. So I ordered two more, two more frames with the same prescription, right? Cost me another $400. I get those next week. So my last pair of eyeglasses with the exam, which I got about a year and a half ago in the United States, cost me $800. So $800 versus $97. I absolutely love it. I even had insurance in the United States, and I didn't need my insurance here, right? I have insurance in Belarus, but I didn't need it. It was straight off the street. So eye exams, new eyeglasses, I love the costs. Okay, number 8. Service workers don't clean up after themselves. I couldn't believe it. So, for example, I'll give you 2 examples. So the first example, our shower, all right, it was leaking into the, out there. We have a, sliding glass door, but it was leaking onto the floor. And so we hired, I guess, a plumber. I guess you would call him a plumber, or maybe it was just a handyman. He came out, did his thing, and then he left. And then I go into the bathroom, and it's a freaking disaster. There was, screws. There was plaster everywhere. There was wrappers. From because he did a strip, so I guess they were in a wrapper. It was unbelievable. And I go to Katya. I go, why didn't he clean up? She goes, that's extra. So I couldn't believe. I mean, listen, it was only 60 rubles, which is $20, right? So I really couldn't complain, even though I'm complaining now. Second example, I have a friend. He owns an apartment, and the building was decided to upgrade. I guess it was the hot water heaters, I guess. And so they needed to go into each unit, and what they do is they had to tear down a wall, right? Put a big hole in the wall so they can get to the hot water, right? Hot water appliance, whatever you call it. So they replaced it, but they don't patch up the hole. They just leave. They just leave. So you got this big hole in your wall that you're responsible for patching back up, right? So a lot of the tenants will ignore the calls because they don't want them to replace the hot water heater because they're going to put a big hole in the wall, right? And they got to shell out another $200 or $200 just to patch that hole up. So there you go. Number 7. In every former Soviet Union country, they turn the water off. They turn not the water, but they turn off the hot water for 2 weeks in every summer. So each neighborhood or district has a designated time, that 2 weeks where the hot water is off. So turns out, 1 weekend to the new apartment, they shut off the hot water, which it's okay. And I remember when living in Prague and living in Warsaw, did the same thing, right? It didn't really bother. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's inconvenient because you want to take a warm shower, but I got used to the cold showers. Wasn't too bad actually. Actually, cold showers are really good for you. Number 6, my bank charges me 15% of all the money that I take out. So if I take out, say, $100, they charge me $15 to take that money out. I didn't know that actually. Of course, I did sign the paperwork, and it is in Russian, so I didn't read the fine print. Evidently, this is only for Prior Bank, which is my bank. It's just fine. Listen, I don't like to use cash anyway, so I use Apple Pay, and I just go boop, and it's fine. So, but it would be nice to know that I can take money out, and not be charged. But it is what it is. I just don't take money out. I just use my Apple Pay. Number 5, there's a big Chinese community here in Belarus, specifically Minsk. I didn't know that. I mean, listen, it makes sense. China and Belarus, they're allies. They're very friendly to each other. My first week here, listen, I joined a gym. The guy at the gym that I signed up with, he was Chinese. I started working out there immediately. Two Chinese guys work out in the morning with me. There was another guy that was just visiting. He was from China. And I also met a couple Chinese guys that own a cafe. All right. I actually played golf with one of them the first week I was here. By the way, he's a horrible golfer. I told him, it's no secret. Worst golfer I've ever seen in my whole life. I tried to teach him. He's not teachable. So, but all in all, listen, the Chinese people that come here, from my experience, they're conservative, and they're here to make money. They're here to see if they can, buy a coffee shop or a cafe or a business, and probably they like it here. It's so peaceful. Number 4, I have a cat lady in my garden. Kid you not. So when I walk outside my building, there's the garden there, kind of, backyard, garden, whatever you want to call it. There's also a little playground, but there's also this lady that goes around and feeds the cats and puts the food in the water dishes in strategic areas in the garden, like against the wall, between 2 walls, under a bush, and therefore my garden is infested with cats, feral cats, just wild cats that think they own the backyard because they got this cat lady. When I first moved here, I have a dog. He's probably about 33 kilos or 75 to 80 pounds. It's a boxer mix. Very kind of intimidating, imposing when you first see him, but he's really just a sweetheart. But the cat lady was eyeing my dog. I mean, just not at me, but eyeing the dog, making sure that he was not going to attack her cats. So these cats, they feel very privileged. I've never seen anything like it. They'll hang out, and I'm walking with my dog. They don't move. They don't run. They actually get up and they start hunching and they start hissing, and they'll actually go after Obi. And Obi's like, whoa, because he's always known cats to be friendly. And this one cat yesterday took a swipe at him. He didn't know it, and got him in the nose, and he cried and cowered and got between my legs and said, "Protect me, Dad." So, anyways, yeah, and these, like I said, these cats are bold. They own this. They own the yard. They own the backyard, the garden. So kind of shocking, because I'll walk out my building and there's just 5-6 cats just hang out, right? And you walk, and usually cats will run. These cats don't run. So that's kind of shocking to me. Number 3, more Belarusian soldiers walking the streets. So I've been coming here for about 2 years. I think I visited 4 or 5 times before I actually moved here. And every once in a while you see a soldier walking the streets. Usually they're just trying to get somewhere else, right? They're not really on patrol or anything. But when I moved here, of course, everything that's going on in the world with the war, there's more soldiers walking the streets of Minsk. Mostly they're in the center. They're walking on the underground, and actually, they have a club. They have a gun. I don't know if they're patrolling, but they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're not really looking at people, and you don't know it, but they're walking the streets. There's just more of a presence, right? So it's probably a good thing, knowing what's going on. So there you go. Number 2, the cost of transportation. So I usually take the taxi. So I signed up with Yandex, and it works just like Uber. You have an app. You open it up. It'll have a map with the cars. You click on it. You put in the destination, and then it'll say, "Oh, they'll be there in 4 minutes." So the first mile is like $1.30, and then each additional mile is about 33 cents a mile. It's unbelievable. So you can go across town, $3. So very, very convenient, and they're usually there within 4 or 5 minutes. And your ride's like $2 or $3, and you can work in the tip there. So it's automatically given to them. The first charge will be the cost of the trip, and then maybe after you get out, 5 minutes later, the tip you'll hear the tip. So and then if you want to take public transportation, like if you want to do a single ticket, it's right around 20-25 cents for a single ride, right? I think it's good for an hour. And then if you wanted to do a monthly pass, the monthly pass is probably $18-19 a month, and you get to go on the buses, the trams, and the underground. It's really a good deal. It's a good deal. Number 1 shocking thing that I've learned in Belarus: they have no mass shootings. That's right, folks. Not one in the 35 days that I've lived here. Now, if you go to the US, there's more than one a day. It's probably in the 35 days that I've lived here, there's probably been more than 40 mass shootings in the United States. What's a mass shooting? That's when 4 or more people die in a shooting from either one person or a group of people. It's usually a lone gunman. But in Belarus, no mass shootings. Matter of fact, I don't even think anyone died or got killed. I'm sure people died, but no one's been killed in the 35 days that I've been living in Belarus. There's no homeless people. There's no people on the streets doing crack cocaine. So it's very peaceful. It's very safe. Very good move on my part to be in Belarus. I'm very happy. Well, there you go, folks. My top 10 list of most shocking things I've learned in Belarus while living here. If you have any questions, concerns, if you're thinking about moving to Belarus, just comment and I'd be happy to reply, help you out with anything, tips, whatever you need. Until next time, ciao.